The final battle at the Demon Lord's castle is going on. Here, a group of humans, including Alex, Laius, and Lilith, manages to defeat the Demon Lord at last. However, the Demon Lord uses a final deadly magic attack, declaring not to die for nothing. In that instant, the Evil One extends his hand and unleashes his dirty magic. One of the human companions, named Alex, throws himself in front of the attack to protect his friend, Laius. Alex is critically wounded by this piercing magic that is stabbed in the poor boy's abdomen. Panicked, Alex calls Lilith, who is a healer, and rushes to use her healing magic. But the moment this girl tries to use her healing effects, they do not affect Alex's wound because of a peculiar magical effect from the Demon Lord's attack. As Alex lies dying, Laius is in disbelief. Alex tries to reassure them and delivers his final words, thanking Laius and the others for accepting a mere commoner like him as their partner. Laius is shattered, not understanding why Alex protected him or is thanking him right now, when it was he, Laius, who should be thanking Alex. Laius sadly tells his friend not to say things as if they are the last things he will speak. He makes sure to remind Alex that he was an incredible black mage who got his powers without receiving a god's blessing, clarifying that whatever he achieved was due to his own merit. Whatever Alex achieved was indeed on his own. He was a commoner, because nobility means someone who has God's blood mixed into their bloodline. They have blessings that Alex didn't have. Basically, there is no room for improvement of one's physical abilities, something which is necessary for close quarters combat. The only thing he was able to achieve through his efforts was magic power. And even with that magic, he and Laius holding a sword weren't that different. Alex sees Laius as the strongest swordsman in the world, the final weapon of humanity, and the main character of their adventure. Alex reflects that Laius was the lead actor and a courageous person whom everyone looked up to. On the contrary, Alex sees himself as just a side character. He wonders if he could have been more like Laius, skilled in close quarters combat like a noble. Hence, he wishes that he were a main character. The scene shifts to the consciousness of Alex, who has just died. He wakes up, hearing unfamiliar voices and finding that he can't move his body. He is puzzled about whether he was saved, but then he feels something, a baby's hand. Right then, Alex realizes he has been reborn as a baby. While the helpless baby lies on the ground, a murderer is towering over him, ready to murder him. The assassin knows that it is not good to kill someone, but as long as he is getting paid for it, he will do anything. The assassin comments on the baby's opponent being an A-rank adventurer and a wind mage. Alex is very confused, but he is sure of one thing, that he is going to be killed. Not having any idea if anything will work, our boy attempts to use his former power. Despite not knowing if it will work in his baby's body, he tries to cast an ultimate tier magic spell. In that instant, our baby uses the ultimate God's piercing finger, Infinity Strike, which causes an immense explosion to occur in the area. The effects of this spell leave Alex baffled and shocked, because this power is something else. 12 years later, the protagonist is now a young girl named Evangeline Kingsley. He realizes that he has been reborn in this lifetime as a girl, something he never expected in his wildest dream. In this life, Evangeline is an imperial princess. Also, the daughter of the 14th emperor in the country of Laius, which is obviously infamous for defeating the Demon Lord. Living as a princess includes manners training, language studies, and piano lessons. Additionally, even for basic things like taking a bath, servants are always there to assist her. At first, this behavior shocks her, but then she ends up getting used to it, as it is a part of being pampered when it comes to a noble life. Though the MC's dream from the previous era hasn't changed at all. Right now, she is using level 5 of physical reinforcement and lifts the bed in her room as she still wants to surpass Laius. Lifting the bed, Evangeline does 1,000 squats, realizing what true royalty means. Her magic ability was already high from the beginning, but her body is also steadily growing stronger. Though she has no idea why she was reincarnated into a royal family, whatever the reason is, she's decided to make the most out of this situation. During her lessons, whenever she gets the chance, she works hard to strengthen the control of her magic power through meditation, and she dedicates her free time to working out. Evangeline still has a long way to go, but she is still making progress. Just then, one of the house staff members walks into the room to call the princess, but their eyes widen with shock when they witness the MC lifting the bed. Scared, the woman screams and runs away. Putting the bed down, the protagonist sighs heavily, being aware that she'll be doomed if someone gets to know about her muscle mommy side. A few days back, her barbells were also taken away. This is way too exhausting for her to go through all these cultural norms. That day, at the training ground, Butler Sebas is training brother Christopher. Instantly, Evangeline approaches them and requests that Sebas teach her some sword techniques. Hearing that, the butcher tries to politely refuse, but when Christopher sees him hesitating, he interrupts, ordering him to focus. Sitting at the corner, Eva tries to swing the plastic stick she has in her hand. She knows that no matter how much she practices, if she doesn't fight with a blade, then she will always be unprepared. Unexpectedly, Ava's mother walks in, asking her if training her body is that much fun. With full enthusiasm, our girl makes it clear that it is the ultimate pleasure for her. Eva's mother is aware that she has been working out lately, and she even mentions how the protagonist almost lost her life to an assassin, so maybe she is interested in self-defense because of that trauma. Having said that, Eva clarifies that she wants to be able to protect herself with her own strength, as there might be many dangers out there for an imperial princess. The mother understands her daughter's sentiments, but having dumbbells and barbells in her room and doing shadow boxing is something that is spreading weird stuff about her in high society. Curious, Evangeline wonders aloud what people are calling her. Angrily, the mother reveals that she is being called a fighting spirit, Miss Barbell, and the armored princess. Thus, she angrily declares that from this point onwards, all her muscle training is forbidden. With that, she instructs her to act like a normal princess. Still, Evangeline insists that she wants to study the blade as she wants to surpass the hero Laius. The MC's mother knew this day would come, so she ordered Sebas to give Eva a bit of a bitter experience and teach her that she is absolutely no match for fighting, as fighting is a man's job according to her. Before going to the side, the mother warns Sebas not to leave any bruises. With that, the butcher asks Christopher to hand Eva his wooden sword. Handing her the sword, her brother reminds her that Sebas used to be a master who taught swordsmanship at the Empire's military academy. Being nonchalant, Eva clarifies that she is aware. Her attitude makes Christopher a little annoyed, yet he has no option but to hand her the weapon. Eva is aware that the butcher doesn't belong to the imperial family, but has a noble heritage. Also, his pure sword techniques are unmatched compared to her current self. However, that is only when she talks about sword techniques. The moment Sebas lunges forward to strike at her, she very efficiently dodges the attack. Again, he attempts to attack her, but the protagonist knows that she spent her past creating a system technique for enhancing her body, using the theory of magic as a base. The only thing she was missing was having talent, and this current body is overflowing with it. Now that she has obtained the talent for physical reinforcement, nothing is impossible for her. Right then, she takes an attacking stance and with a powerful punch, sends Sebas flying to the other side of the training ground. All the staff are shocked. Christopher stands in disbelief, and the mother faints to the ground. However, just like that, Eva's boisterous second life begins. Evangeline uses an advanced sword technique called a magic blade, which makes it easy for her to defeat a powerful dungeon boss, Elder Lich, with a single strike. The noble heritage swordsman, Sebas, stands frozen in front of the imperial princess as she literally knocks out the dungeon boss in a single hit. Now Evangeline has turned 16. She is way too excited, as she can use the magic blade now, though she still plans to keep polishing her skills to surpass Laius. Cheerfully, Eva looks at Sebas and thanks him, as it is all because of his guidance. Horror washes over the swordsman's face, and he wonders what kind of a monster he has created. Sebas, who was instructed to teach our girl, recalls the incident where Evangeline literally threw him at the corner of the battlefield. However, since that day, he has been in charge of the princess's swordsmanship. He remembers that at first, he was way too thrilled by seeing her taking in swordsmanship right before his eyes. But then, he soon realized that when her basic sword skills were combined with her abnormal physical reinforcement magic, she became something terrifying. It was really believed that she'd been self-taught. She was quick at picking things. Also, she successfully learned a vast amount of magic on her own, obviously because of her past life knowledge. The swordsman believes that Eva's current battle power might have already reached the level of an S rank. the highest class. Sweat trickles down Seaboss's face, and hesitantly, he begs Eva to keep her true abilities a secret, because if she doesn't, then he will be held responsible for being the one who taught her, and society will literally kill him. The protagonist, however, reminds the butcher that her mother only stopped her from doing muscle training, implying that she has acquired magic all on her own. She gives him a warm smile and reminds him that all he has done is teach her about swordsmanship, so none of this is his fault. Even then, Seaboss is not satisfied because he saw with his own eyes that the MC literally finished an Elder Lich, and it was way too dangerous. Initially, she was supposed to learn about dungeon combat and subjugate the C-rank lizardmen. They both were permitted because it was supposed to be safe around Seaboss. Whereas, the Imperial Princess, thinking about herself, went off on her own, straying from the dungeon route, and while the swordsman was running around trying to find his way back to their original route, she had already defeated the Elder Lich, and all Seaboss could do was stand there and watch it. Falling onto his knees, Seaboss cries and pleads with the Imperial Princess not to utter a word about this to her mother. Smiling warmly, Eva assures the butcher not to worry because, if that is what this is about, our girl has already subjugated the lizardmen, so this won't be a problem. Back at the castle, Letha, while doing Eva's hair, asks the protagonist if her swordsmanship is going well. Excited, Evangeline reveals that she is having the time of her life. Having said that, Letha gets happy that our girl is being healthy, but reminds the Imperial Princess of what the Queen has told her. She has strictly ordered her daughter that being a bulky macho would be preposterous. Thus, the maid begs her to avoid doing any muscle training. Hearing that, Eva assured her not to worry. With that, she stands up and starts removing her clothes. The maid is completely surprised and flustered by the princess taking off her clothes, not understanding why Eva is doing all this. She first assumes the princess is trying to tempt her in order to invite her, as she is aware of the rumors that the royal family had a taste for same-sex relationships. But no matter what this is, Letha reminds herself that this girl is just a minor. Though her thoughts are interrupted when Eva drops her undergarments on the floor, it causes cracks in the ground. In addition to that, the Imperial Princess reveals that her undergarments are made of special heavy metal fibers, both top and bottom weighing 50 kilograms each. Evangeline cheerfully elaborates that she wanted all her clothes to be like this, but apparently she is keeping her muscle training to a minimum, so Letha shouldn't worry. Hearing all this, the maid's jaw practically drops to the ground, and she can't believe her ears. Panicked, she requests that Eva get dressed for now, realizing that the special fiber comes from a high difficulty level monster that is said to create its nest out of steel. It is called the threads of the Dragonia spiders. Seeing the maid being well informed makes the protagonist pretty excited. However, Letha knows that it is an incredibly rare material, so she is concerned about where Eva got it from. Overjoyed, the MC confesses that she recently visited the monster's nest and harvested some. The moment Letha hears it, her eyes open wide in shock, and her mouth drops, completely stunned by what she just heard, since a princess going to a dragon's nest on her own is something unreal. Though she remembers that one time, Eva disappeared. Standing unfazed, Eva playfully states that she was being a little tomboyish. But at this point, the maid has gone into her lecture mode and makes the protagonist understand that no matter how much talent she achieves in terms of physical ability or skill, if she encounters a dragon and gets attacked, then it will be the end for her. At that moment, Eva decides to stay shut about instantly killing those monsters. Alternatively, the maid shows worry about Evangeline using heavy metal fiber undergarments for training. She points out that this is exactly the kind of behavior her mother forbids her from doing. Before leaving, she begs her to act a little more girlish and show a tiny bit more awareness as a girl. Now, being on the bed, wearing her nightgown, Eva reflects on how she was getting accustomed to speaking like a noble lady. At first, she thought she'd master it, but now that she thinks of it, in her past life as Alex, Lilith used to sew stuff for him. Her skills were so good that it felt like everything was bought brand new. Lilith suggested Alex go out the next time she is in town to buy him clothes, as she was aware that he is always busy with training and doesn't care about appearance. Recalling all that, Eva looks at herself in the mirror, realizing that her body is beautiful, and it is true that her mother and the maids care about her. Thus, she decides to work on her sewing skills. as putting in some extra effort will make others happy, and it is also necessary for being the strongest in the world. For both her dress and undergarments, she put functionality first, so they are a bit too plain. Now, she decides to rework them into a more intricate design. On the other hand, in the hallway, Letha is informing the queen about Eva showing interest in clothing. She mentions that finally, the imperial princess is developing self-consciousness as royalty. Additionally, she tries to control herself in order to refrain from telling the queen about the muscle-training undergarment. Right then, the queen orders Letha to proceed according to plan, as at the next month's evening party, Eva will renounce her bad reputation as the armored princess. The imperial princess, Evangeline, is busy seeing magazines having different designs of feminine clothes. She said she'd remake them into more feminine clothes, but now that she is looking at the magazines, these are very different from those she saw in those women that one time Laius dragged her to a brothel in her past life. However, she decides that they all will look more girlish if she just adds way too much lace to it. To make her plan successful, she starts working and putting laces on her undergarments and clothes. Lace everywhere. Lace on sleeves, lace on skirts, lace on shoes, and if possible, lace on armor too. As today, her enemy was far more dangerous: fashion. On the flip side, Letha is running towards our girl's room, panting heavily, as she was the one who said she had something to tell Eva but ended up waiting until the last minute. Finally, the maid approaches the door to the princess's room, having been waiting for permission to enter. She enters after being given permission. The moment she enters the room, Letha's face turns crimson red, and she is taken aback as she stares wide-eyed at what she sees. The imperial princess is in a weird seductive pose. She is unsure if this was a dream or the beginning of a scandal. The maid's face widened in disbelief as she remembered that many women know the royal family has a taste for same-sex relationships, but Letha thought that Eva was just showing off her muscle-training undergarment the other day. But today, seeing the princess in a feminine undergarment convinces Letha that Evangeline is inviting her to something more intimate. After all, why else would she be bending down like that? On the contrary, Eva is busy thinking that if she wants to be able to fight, focusing on speed, she cannot slack on her flexibility and muscle training. At the same time, Letha struggles, knowing that she should not reject such feelings from her beautiful lady, even though she is royalty. The maid herself wants to reply that she was allowed to buy because she cannot do that. She activates her professional mode and pretends that she didn't see a single thing. Later on, Letha informs Eva about debutante. It is a respectful place where only royalty is allowed to attend. This place is a first-class banquet, where she can build connections while dressed in stunning, elegant clothes. Basically, to make it clearer, it is the imperial princess's debut in high society. Her expression went pale. She'd rather fight a dragon. Having said that, Evangeline is shocked as hell, imagining her sitting on a royal chair surrounded by tons of maids. At the Imperial Palace Annex Phoenix Hall, the housemaid behind the queen wonders aloud with a worried expression if Eva is going to be all right. Being confident, the queen mentions that as long as the protagonist doesn't show her strange obsession with muscle training, Eva's behavior is flawless. Just then, both the maid and the queen become speechless when they notice Eva in front of them, all dolled up, looking way too beautiful. However, their focus shifts to the motion Eva has been doing this entire time. Excitedly, the imperial princess explains that these are calf raises. She claims not to waste a single moment when it comes to strengthening muscles. Thus, by lifting heels, stress can be put on the calves as it works on the gastrocnemius and soleus muscles. Having said that, the queen's drama starts once again, and she is on the verge of a panic attack as she worries about these boyish qualities her girl has gotten. Though this drama doesn't last that long, as the Rosegard Empire's third son of the queen, Richard, greets the queen and his youngest sister. Rixar doesn't understand why they are hanging out in front of the main entrance. The queen explains that they were forced to go through the men's entrance for some reason, which is a problem. These words make Richard laugh because he is the one who instructed the staff to do that, as he heard that Eva was studying swordsmanship despite being a girl. With a smirk, he elaborates that if she picks up a sword, it is natural for her to be accepted as a man. Women enter high society at an early age and become adults. For men, it is either when they turn 20 or when they are recognized as established warriors. In short, there is no way the youngest child will ever meet those requirements. This makes the queen livid. However, Richard continues speaking, stating that men and women each have their own roles to play. So, women are expected to stay silent, act as strategic pawns, and dedicate their lives to bearing children. These statements make Eva frown as she recalls that Laius formed a party based on merit, ignoring all the gender norms created by society. This country that Laius founded is one such country, but it is still ignoring that and talking about the roles of men and women. Right then, the imperial princess mentions the shining sword on Richard's hip, remarking that it looks wonderful, and that she remembers the swords given to the men of the imperial family are made of mithril, and comments on how strong and sturdy it looks. Proudly grinning, Richard agrees, mockingly telling her that no matter how much swordsmanship she studies, she will never be able to hold something like that in her life. Not reacting to that comment, Eva steps forward, reminding Richard that she heard destroying a weapon made of mithril is one of the conditions to be recognized as an established warrior. With that, very swiftly, she snatches that weapon and, using her body reinforcements full force, she breaks it into 2 pieces. Clapping her hand to remove the dust, our girl taunts Richard, mockingly asking if that is all a mithril can do, as it does not even hold a candle to her dear Orichalune exercise bar. While Richard is shocked as hell, the queen's blood pressure once again shoots up, and she collapses on the ground after seeing her daughter break the sword with her bare hands. All the staff rush towards her, telling her to pull herself together. Pressing forward in the VIP room of the Phoenix Hall, Richard slams his fist on the table, still trying to process that Ava actually broke his sword made of mithril, because it is nearly impossible for a girl to do that, according to him. At this point, the third son assumes that our girl has gotten physical strengthening tools from father. However, it doesn't matter to him anymore, because soon he'll get to see the look of despair on her face. Just then, one of his men from the staff approaches him and informs him about the preparations being arranged, as it is evident that this guy is ready to pull a dirty move. The evil guy is way too excited, as his brother's army is away on a campaign to subjugate the southern Khmur's tribe. What they are unaware of is that, under his guidance, the tribe is actually hiding near the imperial capital. With the city left nearly empty, he knows he won't get another chance like this again. At least 100 elites of the Assassin Guild and 3,000 of the best from the barbarian tribe are arranged. The man warns Richard that they have made an agreement, but if they make any mistake while controlling them, there is a chance they will take over the country. However, Richard doesn't care about it. Since the king chose his brother over him to be the next emperor, he began opposing the idea of creating an order of female knights, calling it foolish to trust military affairs to women. Angrily, he stomps his leg on the ground. Richard has vowed not to let an idiot take over the throne and decides to make tonight's royal party a call into disarray. In addition to that, he is overexcited to make those 2 kneel in front of him. This evil guy can't help but laugh like a maniac, imagining his family's frightened faces after they hear about the attack. With a sly smirk, he is all ready for the rebellion to begin. Princess Eva enters the mansion and moves with steady steps as the grand hall unfolds before her. The polished pillars rise along the walls, and the chandeliers glow with soft light, while the long tables stretch across the room and display trays of sweets and delicate pastries. The sight overwhelms her senses, and her jaw drops as she takes in the arrangement with silent disbelief. She walks toward the dishes while her mother reminds her that some time remains before the gathering begins, so they may enjoy a meal in peace. Eva nods and serves herself some treats and tasting each other with visible satisfaction, while she quietly remarks that the sweetness feels remarkable. She continues eating until her mother turns with widened eyes and questions the amount she consumes while stepping closer in concern. Before she answers, a circle of princesses begins to whisper. They murmur that Eva carries titles like Miss Barbell and the Armored Princess, and adds that she even enters through the path reserved for men, while rumors spread that she behaves like one. Eva frowns while her mother lowers her gaze and states that the higher circles now perceive her in that light. At that moment, Prince Richard approaches and asks if she enjoys herself. Eva responds that they follow every formal step required during their arrival and questions if that alone is not sufficient. Richard agrees, yet reminds her that by entering as a man, she must still participate in the ritual. Eva's mother snaps at Richard and warns him that he is going too far, while Eva questions the nature of the ritual. Richard explains that it is a mock battle, where every man of the royal bloodlines serves as a soldier, and their first gathering stands as both a coming of age with a test where they demonstrate strength. Eva's mother argues that such words oversimplify the situation and adds that the ritual is closer to public humiliation. She states that it is customary to face the strongest fighters of the empires, and often the champion who wins the empire's swordsmanship tournament. Eva interrupts and asks if that means she holds no chance of victory, while her mother explains further that by overpowering the opponent until he can no longer stand in front of the audience, they declare complete submission counts as winning. Richard smirks and claims that if Princess Eva wishes to learn swordsmanship, then it becomes his duty to guide her, and he snaps his finger, then a giant man steps forward. Richard gestures and states that this man won the martial arts tournament of the previous year. Eva raises her brow and questions why the challenge shifts from swordsmanship to martial arts, while Richard replies that she is not allowed to strike or use any weapons, since bloodshed is forbidden inside the court. Eva crosses her arms and states that he means only joint locks and chokeholds remain permitted. He nods and declares that it becomes a battle based entirely on grappling. Richard silently acknowledges that if Eva were allowed to strike, then her unusual strength might cause problems, and he considers the need for further precautions since the ritual holds little restraint. He murmurs that the king behaves with naive leniency and tightens his jaw, vows that in the empire he plans to shape, he will not allow rebellion nor deny women like Eva the right to live as they wish. Richard glances at Eva and thinks that regardless of victory or loss, he will remain careless, while her mother hesitates and asks why her daughter must use grappling at all. Eva states that she lacks experience in any form of battle, and Richard thinks that striking relies on raw power, but grappling demands techniques, and the strength alone cannot carry through it. Eva steps to the center of the grand hall, where the latest champion stands across from her, and a waiter signals the beginning. As the match begins, the opponent charges forward and grabs Eva's hand before locking her neck in a tightening triangle choke, while Richard lets out a laugh. Eva struggles, knowing she holds no knowledge of such techniques, yet she refuses to yield, and she uses her raw strength, grips the opponent's thighs, and lifts him upward with a firm motion that shocks the hall. The audience watches with widened eyes as Eva slams him onto the ground with a heavy thud, and Richard's jaw drops while her mother stands frozen in disbelief. The champion lies across the cracked floor while Eva rises and brushes the dust from her dress. Then she calls out to Richard and states that in the world of martial arts, every technique holds value. Richard tenses while Eva stands with quiet confidence and declares that physical strength solves everything. Evangeline stands on top of the fallen man, and everyone gossips about her having a power bomb and is amazed at the capability of her picking him up like he weighed nothing. Since everyone is talking about it, is holding her fist tightly, and thinks that Evangeline has put up a really bad look for the ladies of the Empire because she forgot about having her own elegance and modesty. She falls on her knees while screaming that it is all over and used to have a power bomb. The king, Oliver Kingsley, walks in, and he calls out for Vanessa as she tells him the nicknames that Evangeline has been going by, like the muscle training lady, Miss Barbell, the best in the world, and Armored Princess. The king himself is shaken because he never expected Evangeline to use a power bomb, and she is as boyish as the rumors claim her to be. Still, the strength she carries is the actual deal. The only thing that is not favorable for them is that she is born a girl. The king walks to Evangeline and asks why she desires strength so much. She stutters and is about to answer, but suddenly the knights of the kingdom barged into the room and began to walk towards the king, Vanessa, and Evangeline. They are soon cornered by the army while they're confused over what is happening, while Richard laughs maniacally and walks up to explain to them the situation they're about to face now. Everyone is shaken by the presence of Richard, and he steps over the top of the room, saying that the majority of the Imperial Army is currently on an expedition to subjugate the Khmurs tribe, and the ones that were interested in protecting the capital are the Third Army under his command. He also adds that he will let the king fill in the rest of his life, and the king causes him to be thrown out when he hears Richard. The king yells at him, saying that Richard is about to instigate a rebellion, and Richard scoffs and explains that this is a revolution for the sake of justice. Further, he says that the responsibility of putting the country in danger lies with him, who was overconfident that there were no seeds of rebellion present. Hearing that the king screams at him, wondering if he has forgotten about the Order of the Guard, and how it is impossible to occupy the capital with just the Third Army. Richard sighs and says that even a foolish emperor could do the bare minimum in terms of precautions. However, he asks him what he would do if there were already 3,000 Khmer men lurking around the capital's outskirts. The king loses his mind as he hears that, knowing Richard has betrayed their country to those animals. But Richard has a different explanation for that, since he finds a word betrayed a bit disgraceful. But he clarifies that he has forbidden them from touching the land. In return, he has promised them rampaging and pillaging, which shakes Vanessa, Evangeline, and the king. Further, he says that the first emperor's ideal was a military nation that possessed perfect armed might. Since they have lost, the founding of an order of females in turn led to a spineless coward who tolerated the existence of people such as Evangeline ascending the throne. But since he doesn't want that to happen, he will finish it all today. Then Richard raises his hand and loudly announces that his name is Richard Kingsley, and he is the legitimate heir to the throne of the Rosegard Empire, and from this moment onwards, he will be the ruler of the empire. Then he points towards the left side of the room, saying that there is an escape route from the courtyard to the outside of the capital, and says that he will postpone the start of the massacre by 30 minutes, which is, in a way, merciful towards them. All the nobles begin to run towards the escape route, while Evangeline knows how dire the situation is and knows that when anyone is given the chance to escape, it's really hard to resist because survival matters the most. The king is told to escape since the rear guard has arrived, and he needs to make sure of his survival, but he doesn't want to do that. The king accepts his mistake, that it was his fault that Richard joined forces with the Khmers and plotted a rebellion. He draws his sword and yells that he cannot allow the commander of an army to run away while leaving women and children behind. Whether fighting spirit, he announces that they will stand with them to the better end, even if the soldiers they have are 200 compared to the soldiers of the enemy. But the king is sure that the difference in fighting strength is overwhelming. Suddenly, the king looks behind him and sees Evangeline by the pillar, assuming that she failed to escape, and orders her to get behind them quickly. But she ends up pulling out a pillow from its base. Nobody in the room can believe that she lifted a pillow that was made out of marble. Even her own father can't believe that her daughter is so strong. She holds the pillow as if that is her weapon, and says to her father that she is here to assist him, while the opponents scream out of fear when they see a huge pillar directed towards them. Without a second being wasted, Evangeline threw the pillar at the opponent's soldiers, throwing them away like bowling pins. The king is left with his jaw on the floor, while the rest of the soldiers are worried about their own lives and sweating nervously, not expecting Evangeline to actually put up a fight against the rebels. All they can utter is, "What the hell is going on?" The soldiers scream when they see Evangeline use a literal marble pillar as her weapon with a speed that they have never witnessed, and the strength is even greater than the speed. She keeps attacking the soldiers as if they were mere insects in front of her. They are unable to grasp the fact that a girl is taking them down with a pillar. The king is left speechless, and all he can think of is Evangeline's nicknames were known as jokes, but he definitely did not expect those rumors and names to be actually true about her. After Evangeline is done fighting and suppressing the soldiers from the opponent's party, she paces down her weapon, a marble pillar, back to the ground. She sighs while she sweats, complaining about how she has run out of stamina. Since now she is living in a mansion, she regrets that she is unable to train in secret because she cannot go on an endurance-improving marathon every day, running from the maids. Meanwhile, the king knows that Evangeline's efforts have caused the enemy to temporarily fall into disarray. But still, the situation is just as bad, and since the way things are, they actually might end up losing to the enemy. Evangeline realizes that she has to go all out on her strength. Meanwhile, the soldiers from the opponent's party notice that Evangeline's momentum has drastically dropped and order the magic tropes to start the ritual already and aim at that girl to destroy her once and for all because they have to make the path to the emperor easier to open. Hearing the word ritual magic, the king loses his mind, and especially when it is directed to Evangeline. But before he can do anything, the soldiers fire and shoot at her while the king is left yelling Evangeline's name. Still, Evangeline looks pretty calm and says that she used to be the mage of the party who defeated the demon lord, and looks at the soldiers and says that if they thought they could compete against her with just a few ritual magicians. With a bright smile on her face, she says, Do not underestimate her to that level, and she begins to put magic in her hand, and eventually throws the attack towards the soldiers. Before the soldiers could do anything, they were once again scattered by the attack of Evangeline. The king is left not only speechless, but his mouth is wide open after he sees what Evangeline did. Back at Vanessa, she notices that Evangeline and the king aren't there, and soon enough realizes that the king is a paragon of the empire, and in such a situation, he would surely act as commander of the rear guard. And then there is Evangeline, who has been yearning for a battle. Vanessa yells as she realizes that Evangeline must have taken advantage of the situation, the entire chaos among the guards and the emperor. She holds her head and tries to gaslight herself into believing that surely it must not have happened, but she still goes out to look for Evangeline and the king. The maid tries to stop her from intervening, but she is too deep in her thoughts of Evangeline becoming a disgrace to the name of the lady, and that in front of the king. But Vanessa and the maid I left were shaken when they saw what had happened to the opponents, the entire place being in ruins. The king turns towards Vanessa and wonders why she returned, to which she begins to stutter an answer, but is unable to say anything. Despite the efforts of her daughter being in front of her, she is still stressed that her daughter could not be like her. She faints and falls through the ground while the king and the maid are left worried. The king can't help but think about Eva, who possesses powers regarding magic and close-quarter combat strength, wondering if the power of the first emperor dwells inside of his daughter. He thinks that if that is true, then his daughter Evangeline would surely be a suitable candidate for the plan he has been preparing for quite a while. Then he calls for his daughter, and she knows she could be in trouble and nervously laughs. The king goes towards his daughter and praises her efforts in saving the kingdom, and it is all thanks to her that the enemies have been taken down. But she politely denies it, saying that some enemies are still left, and she uses her search magic, which surprises the king. She uses her 1,000-mile eyes of truth to view the situation, and she finds more enemies. The king is left shaken over his daughter's abilities as she gathers her dress and says that they will search and destroy all the enemies. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the capital, Richard the Kemrus to his empire. The leader scoffs, saying that there was a horrible enough royal to allow pillaging as a reward for a rebellion, then accidentally calls him the prince, to which Richard corrects him that he is now the emperor. But Richard also makes sure that they know that this is the only day that they will allow violence, and the leader of the tribe obeys him. The leader turns towards his army and orders them to grab what they can grab and break what they can break, since the empire's main army is far away and they have to cause some violence. There are basically no rules, and they find the gate to be open with a girl standing, and they just plan to get her. It was no one other than Evangeline who used her special storage magic to lift up another pillar and started to knock down the soldiers who were coming in to create chaos and violence. The soldiers were flying in the air, and the rest were worried about Evangeline's strength. She holds it right in front of them, asking if they cannot see it, and they don't get what she means, so she explains that she is here to send them flying in the air with this very pillar. On the other hand, Richard hears some noises coming from the bridge while he is with the leader, and suddenly an explosion occurs, which shakes Richard. A person falls down to the ground, and Richard begins to lose his crap, wondering what this is supposed to mean. One by one, the soldiers begin to drop on the ground from the air as if they were raining while not being able to understand what is going on. Richard observes the situation and then makes a run for himself, leaving the tribe leader alone. He thinks to himself if his father outsmarted him, which is quite literally impossible because the main army is dispatched to an expedition and there shouldn't be any powerhouses left in the capital right now. He doesn't know where he lagged because he managed spies to verify all the information from everywhere, but suddenly he thinks about his sister, who was known for her nicknames in the capital. He curses himself, knowing that he knew that something Evangeline could do, but he never expected it to go this far. The tribe leader screams at Richard as this was not the situation. He made them aware of saying that there were no powerhouses left in the capital. Richard screams back, saying that it is just one girl who has been doing all that, which scares the tribe leader even more because he never expected a girl to be this powerful and never expected a girl like that to exist in this world. The tribe leader says that they are going to back off from the plan and they should run as soon as they can to save their lives. Richard tries to stop them from running away, but in the end, Richard is left alone with his sister, and she confronts him that this is an undeniable attempt to overthrow the state. Richard is sweating like a pig. Knowing that this situation is really bad for him, he wonders if he should defeat her right here, but he knows his strength does not equal hers, and he will definitely lose in this situation, and he could just run with the barbarians instead. But he also knows that there was a rumor that his sister ran 100m in 3 seconds while wearing 500 kilograms worth of weight. That rumor is now confirmed after he saw what she did to the soldiers, and he knows that she is definitely capable of running, and he is now doomed, with no way to escape. He keeps repeating to himself that this situation is bad, while his sister cracks her knuckles, saying that he's well aware of the nickname she has gotten over time, and decides to tell him another nickname. She once forgot to sleep and performed punches while wielding a barbell in both hands from night until dawn, and the nickname she got from that was Armored Cannon Princess, while she began to punch him unstoppably. She throws him away while he keeps begging for forgiveness. She cracks her knuckles again, saying that she is going to keep on beating him up until dawn, while he keeps yelling and begging her to stop. In the audience chamber, the king presses Evangelist's efforts because their rebellion was suppressed due to her efforts. She acts humbly in front of him, saying that she is undeserving of such praise. She says to her father that her deeds were only half of it, because the remaining assassins were eliminated by the king's secret squad. And she was never aware that a powerful squad like that existed. The king says that it was understandable that she wasn't aware, because the secret required was established by the first emperor by the name of Obsidian Shadow. He further tells her that he was also unaware of their existence until the night of his coronation, when his predecessor told him about them. Because a secret weapon is a secret weapon because no one knows about it. She smiles and says that is typically Laius. To his daughter, saying that he ordered all the soldiers who witnessed her efforts to keep it a secret, and he is deeply sorry for that. Further, he says that his daughter's power is one of the strongest in the empire, and one could even say that 1,000 or more than 10,000 soldiers would be no match for her, and this is why he will put up a request in front of her. The request is that he has been considering establishing an all-female night order for the inner palace, and the reason would be strengthening their security due to the recent rebellion, but Eva wonders what the actual purpose of it will be. The king explains that a new secret weapon for the empire would be established, and a secret squad that would be led by the armored princess. There was also a woman in the party who defeated the demon lord, led by the first emperor, so what was the reason for women being excluded from the battlefield? Tell his daughter that the girls' academy is attended by incredibly talented ladies from the great houses, and send her to seek the seeds there for the empire's new strength. She bows down and accepts the offer and asks to provide the school with the muscle training room. On the other hand, Clarice is surprised when she sees Evangeline being a part of this school, thinking that they are truly connected by the strong bonds of fate, while holding a doll that looks exactly like her. She smiles while holding the box of handkerchiefs and lets out a soft chuckle as she admires the item she retrieves from Princess Eva's room after being uninvited. She opens the lid with gentle care and runs her fingers across the cloth before lifting it toward her face and inhaling the faint scent. She murmurs that her cousin remains elegant in every aspect, and even her figure resembles a crafted artwork. The scene shifts to the St. Lucrezia Girls' Academy, where Principal Michele do Lucrezia sits inside the quiet library and he reads a letter with furrowed brows. He mutters that their academy accommodates women from noble families. Therefore, hosting a princess poses no issue, but her request for a dormitory equipped with a muscular training room lies far beyond his comprehension. He clutches the paper with frustration and wonders if this peculiarity stems from the fact that the princess carries an abnormal reputation, and others call her the Armored Princess. He grumbles that Lady Vanessa should educate her within the palace instead. He releases a long sigh and questions what kind of girl she could possibly be, and then Eva steps while offering a polite greeting. Michelle nods as she bows with proper manners and expresses that she feels honored to take the examination. The principal raises his brow and thinks that she neither flaunts her beauty nor behaves improperly, while she appears like a regular, well-mannered young woman, which leaves him confused about the reason behind her notorious title. His gaze falls upon the bag hanging from her shoulder, and he asks what she carries inside. Eva brightens instantly and reveals sets of workout equipment, along with her favorite lifting benches. Michelle stiffens with the realization that this must be the reason they call her the Armored Princess, and he worries that enrolling her may damage the dignity of the Academy. Yet, even the Emperor cannot interfere with the Academy's independence, so the examination must continue. He leads her through the corridor and explains that their institution is founded for the noble classes and holds basic magic as a natural requirement for entrance. He adds that their traditional examination involves basic target practice and guides her to an open practice field. He states that this is the most elementary form of offensive magic, although students normally manage to pass this, but this time the challenge differs. He reveals that a magic interference barrier covers the entire facility and explains that no one in the country has ever passed the test successfully, while Eva lifts her gaze forward, mutters that the barrier resembles a crude concealment, and senses the interference also. She senses that she could disperse it with sheer strength, yet understands that this likely defeats the purpose of the test. Eva knows that the trial demands a way to destroy a target without relying on magic, and it clearly tests the wisdom of the examiner. She steps forward as Michelle instructs her to destroy the distant target by any necessary means. She questions if she uses a fire, and Legs may leave the marked ring if that counts, while Michelle replies that she may use any method as long as she does not step outside the boundary. Eva nods and questions again if it remains acceptable to leave the ring after the target is destroyed. He nods, stating that once destruction occurs, the trial is complete. Then Eva stretches her arms as she declares that the plan feels simple. She gathers strength and charges forward, then leaps high into the air while Michelle's eyes widen as he watches the unexpected height she reaches. She shouts that her plan relies entirely on raw muscles to brute force, then descends with tremendous impact and crashes onto the target, shattering the wooden sign and breaking the ground beneath her. The principal stands speechless and accepts that she truly earns the title of the Armored Princess, while Eva rises calmly.